Welcome everyone to the Aquarium of the Pacific, and welcome to our June Keys Penguin Habitat. My name is Dana. This is Frankie. And we are aviculturists here at the aquarium, and we work with our Magellanic penguins here. We have 23 Magellanic penguins. Now, a lot of people often ask why they don't have ice or snow. There's no snow up on this beach. These are actually a temperate species of penguin, so they don't need ice or snow. Their water is a little bit colder, but they don't need that ice or snow that a lot of penguin species do need. They're actually found along the coastlines of Argentina and Chile. Now, if you all were here a little bit earlier, we were just finishing up kind of a midday feeding for some of our penguins. Now, not all of them ate, but they also had a morning feeding as well, and we'll have one more feeding with them before they end or before we go home for the evening. Now, these penguins are fish eaters. They're going to be eating herring and capelin. A herring is a slightly larger schooling fish, and a capelin is a slightly smaller silver schooling fish. And just like people, each of our individual penguins have different food personalities and preferences as well. Some prefer herring, some prefer capelin, some don't mind eating both, some will only eat one over the other. So it's our job here as parts of our husbandry staff to get to know our penguins, get to know what they like, what they don't like, and kind of what their different personalities are. It's our job to make sure our penguins are nice and healthy. They do get physicals about once a year to make sure that everything's in working order, just like we might try to go to the doctor to make sure we're nice and healthy. But it falls on us from day to day to take a look at our penguins and make sure they are doing nice and well. Now, as you guys can see, I have two penguins up on the beach with me, but most of them are in the water right now, not really interested in my bucket of food. And that's because these penguins are in migration season right now. So we just finished our molting season. Now, our penguins, Magellanic penguins, are slightly different from other species of birds because they have a catastrophic molt. Now, that sounds really scary, but basically it means they lose all of their feathers at one time. It lasts about 2 weeks, and it can be not the most comfortable experience for our birds. So during molting season, you'll see them up on the beach. They're bloated, their feathers are falling out, they're kind of cranky, they're not the happiest penguins in the world. But once their feathers come in, they're nice, beautiful, clean feathers, and they're good to go back in the water. Now, this species spends a lot of time in the water. And the reason they can do that in the cold temperatures that they live in is because they actually waterproof or kind of like cold-proof their feathers, essentially. They have an oil gland that they'll kind of dip their beak into. You might see some of our penguins doing it. That oil gland is located right at the base of their body, kind of right near their tail would be. And they'll kind of put their beak on that oil gland, get some oil on their beak, and then rub that around in their feathers. They'll also kind of, you'll see them preening their feathers. This is Admiral on my right-hand side, Admiral Fancy Pants. And then we have D on the beach right in front of me. But you'll see our penguins in the water kind of rolling around, maybe moving their feathers with their flippers on either side. And this is to them just keeping care of their feathers, making sure they're nice and clean, making sure they are waterproof. And you may even see other penguins preening each other. This is called allopreening. And it's a really, really important part of their social structure, their social bond. As a colony, they are a very close-knit group of penguins. But you'll see them just kind of proofing their feathers, and that oil, like I said, is going to act as a kind of a waterproofing. Now, if you see them dive a little bit underwater, you might see bubbles streaming out of their fur, or out of their feathers, they're birds, out of their feathers. That's because as they're kind of up on land and they're preening, just like Admiral Fancy Pants is doing right here next to me, they're kind of tucking air underneath their feathers, and that sort of acts as a warm buffering air layer in between them and that colder water temperature on the outside. Now I'm going to be in here for just a few more minutes, just keeping an eye on our penguins, making sure they're all doing well. Now, we keep track of what each penguin eats. Like I said, we have 23 here at the aquarium, including 3 chicks that were hatched earlier this year. So my coworker was up here actually kind of tallying how much fish each penguin is eating, because we want to keep track of how much they're eating. If they're eating too much, if they're not eating enough, both can indicate they're not feeling very well. If they're not eating very much, there might be something wrong with their stomach, and we can take a closer look at them. But like I said, they're eating mostly herring and capelin here. Sometimes we do give them enrichment. We'll give them some live fish to chase around and interact with. But just you folks up at the window is an enrichment for the penguins. It's new faces every day, new colors, new sounds, new sights for them to kind of check out. But we'll also kind of give them toys and things to interact with up on the beach from time to time, just to make sure that their days are not all the same and they have something interesting going on every day in their habitat. Now, I'm going to be leaving the exhibit here in just a second, but thank you folks so much for joining us here at our June Keys Penguin Habitat, and thank you all so much for coming to the Aquarium of the Pacific today. We are a nonprofit organization, so just by coming here and buying a ticket, you're actually supporting our animals that we have here at the aquarium. So once again, thank you all so much for joining me, and have a wonderful rest of your day here at the aquarium.